Quincy residents have seen significant increases in their property taxes. In your opinion, what can the city do to help ease the tax burden on our residents?
Thank you for the question, John. This is an important issue that resonates with everyone across the city, regardless of what neighborhood you're in, regardless of how old you are, how long you've been here, what your background is, and it's affecting all of us in the same way, which is negatively, unfortunately. Here in the city of Quincy, out of our $300 million budget, as residents, we're carrying about 90% of that burden. And as we continue to expand here in the city, the benefits of that are that we're fixing our infrastructure, we're rebuilding our schools, we're making sure that the investments here in the city are most up to date for us so that we have the best services. However, again, we're carrying the majority of that burden. And as your city councilor, I've advocated for and have worked hard to try and craft a residential property tax exemption that I'm hoping my colleagues will support that will alleviate the burden on the residents here in the city. As we continue to grow, we too also need to push for commercial development and commercial growth. I've had the experience of working with my family's restaurant group and expanding and working with developers and talking to larger companies that are investing 30 to 50 years in a community. Those are the conversations that I've been having with developers, and those are the conversations we need to ensure will lead to contracts. And so both of those avenues need to happen at the same time. We need to bring in more offices, more large companies that are committed to carrying the tax burden with us here in the city. And at the same time, more immediately, we need to enforce a residential tax exemption that will alleviate the burden that comes on all of our residents here. Thank you.
Please hold the flag. Ms. Mahoney.
So Quincy has had an amazing amount of new developments happened in the city of Quincy. But what was forgotten about was the long-term residents who have lived here. That residential tax break should have been thought about before we even started the development, just like the traffic and road conditions that have also been forgotten about. We need to bring that residential tax break to the taxpayers of the city of Quincy immediately. Whether it starts at 0% and moves its way up, we need to give that break to the people who live here, who have been here for a long term, who have been for the ups and downs of the city of Quincy, who will be here through the long haul. We also have to find a way to market our city. We have a lot of empty storefronts. Empty storefronts mean no revenues coming into the city of Quincy. We have the right demographics here in the city of Quincy. We need to fill those empty storefronts, and we need to do it now. More businesses are leaving in the middle of the night here in Quincy than they're coming in, and we need to start doing that. We're building buildings with opportunities in the bottom of our buildings, but we're not filling them right away. These are opportunities to help with the taxes in our city. And the most important thing that we need to start doing is reining in our expenses. We are spending money faster than we are bringing it in. Our taxes can't keep up with what we're spending. We're bonding out our future, and that's your children's future. So I know how hard it's getting for people to be able to afford to live in Quincy. But we on the City Council have an opportunity to be your voice and to be able to let you be heard. Residential tax break, bringing in commercial property, and also making sure that we're cutting spending. Thank you.
Mr. Raimondo.
Thank you. I'm very sensitive to the needs of families, young and old, and the seniors of our community, many of whom are house rich and cash poor. For many years as a city councilor, I was known as the city's fiscal watchdog, where, of any candidate on this panel, I probably reduced public spending more than anyone here. And that's why, one of the reasons why I'm proud to be endorsed by the Quincy Taxpayers Association. So the first thing we need to do as the City Council is to be a watchdog over fiscal spending. Secondly, we need to ask our developers to do more for us. There's an awful lot of infrastructure work that the development comes in, walks away, and then the taxpayers are left with paying for roads, sidewalk, or infrastructure repairs. We need developers, we need them to do more for us. We also need development that brings more commercial and retail value to our city. Residential is fine, but we need that other component to increase our tax base. We also need to think outside the box and be creative, and that's what I've done by introducing the hotel-motel legislation that's added $15 million in counting. Every night, every weekend, those funds keep coming in to offset the burden of the taxpayer. So I'm in your corner, and you vote for Dan Raimondo. You've got a friend who wants spending. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moon. Susan.
My rent just raised recently, and the landlord tells me that it's because Quincy raised taxes. Well, what happens if you've got your income and your money, and you all of a sudden find that you don't have enough money, right? You can't just get more money without getting a raise or something else. What Quincy does is simply, when they want more money, they tax you. Well, it takes an activist to care, and I've worked on many ballot issues. I'm working on 2 ballot initiatives currently. One to lower the sales tax to 5%, and the other one to end taxpayer funding of abortion. I've also been very advocate in caring about the issues, and the idea is that what we have to do is we have to lower spending, and that's what you have to do if you can't afford your money, your rent at the end of the month. And so basically that's what we have to look at, is what can we cut out while still providing effective services, while still meeting the needs of a growing community. And I've got my name on a patent, so I understand working with technology and working with what you have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dugan. Mr. Development.
Taxes is always part of a community, part of a municipality. What's important is what do you get out of your taxes? You know, we've been working on the commercial growth in this city over the last few years. Remember, the streetworks deal was 3 years off of time of revenue that we could have been generating in this city. So we're 3 years behind in time. However, we have found out what is important and what will work in the city of Quincy. Our commercial tax rate will help out our residential tax rate, will lower our taxes. We also have to look for the developers. And the developers can help out with a fund that will help out a tax bracket. I'm looking to have a $500 tax abatement for anybody over the age of 65, whatever criteria of financial income that you make. Doesn't matter. This will be a setup fund from the developers, as well as our education system, our public safety, and our infrastructure improvements. One thing that we have to consider, and always consider, is if we don't pay for trash. That is built into our taxes. On top of that, we have free all-day kindergarten. One of the main things that people want to come here for is for our services. A lot of communities throughout the South Shore charge for kindergarten up to $4,000 per year per child. We don't charge that here in the city of Quincy. So we have to strike the balance for taxes. I'm going to help lower the tax rate for you, but we need to keep some of the services there intact. It's a balancing act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Development. Ms. LaFleur?
Thank you. Currently, we have an 80-20 split. 80% of our property taxes comes from residential and only 20% from commercial. Our commercial tax rate is 1.5 times the residential rate. Our downtown, when I grew up, had great memories. Child World, Coleman's, Remex, going to the movie theater, there were businesses. Now I'm doing a lot of my household errands outside the city. If I need to go to Staples, I'm leaving the city to get ink for my printer. We need to meet the needs of our municipality within the city. Currently before the City Council, we have 2 proposals. One is a residential to owner-occupied potential abatement, and then the second is to look at apartment buildings and whether we should be taxing those as residential rate or at the commercial rate. Because when you have multi-unit dwellings, that's a business income. It's not just solely as a residence. Our downtown will be bringing in, the ordinance committee will be looking at a land disposition agreement that will potentially transform our downtown with 1 million square feet of commercial development being proposed by Foxrock. We're anticipating that project proposal coming in to the City Council this fall. I chair the ordinance committee. We're going to be chairing that. They're also talking about his connections with the Quincy Hospital project, and maintaining emergency health care services in our community is imperative. We have the opportunity to work to revolutionize commercial development. We've seen buildings that have been long dilapidated come down. It's a pivotal time for Quincy. Now is the time to have our downtown working for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. LaFleur.